I just I can't even believe it. Like this is I don't even know what to even say. This is just it's unbelievable. It really is unfreaking believable. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you think I was talking about the Rangers drafting fifth overall? No, I'm actually not mad about that. I'm actually quite satisfied. I'll explain why and what I'm actually upset about coming up on this edition of From the Blue Seats. The Stanley Cup playoffs are here, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, has a new customer offer. You can bet player props, you can bet the spread, you can bet the money line, you can bet live. It does not matter. From the opening faceoff to the final horn, every moment matters. And new DraftKings customers bet just $5 and you'll get $100 in bonus bets instantly. All you have to do is download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN so you're ready for the moment. That's code THPN to turn $5 into $100 in bonus bets instantly in partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-MY-RESET. New York, call 877-8-HOPENY or text HOPENY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 and over in most states. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. Limited time offer.
Copyright 2026 NHL. All rights reserved. What's going on, Rangers fans? My name is Jimmy Fanizzi, and welcome to yet another edition of From the Blue Seats, a New York Rangers podcast presented by DraftKings. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Follow us on X and Instagram at BlueSeats94, and use the hashtag BlueSeats to chat with us on any and all topics at hand. Send us fan mail as well from theblueseats@gmail.com. That's from theblueseats@gmail.com. Also, make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube and subscribe on all audio platforms. And be sure to rate us 5 stars. It would mean the world to us. So the NHL Draft Lottery has come and gone, and I just... Listen, the Rangers are drafting 5th overall, and we'll get into all of that, but I can't even believe the events that have transpired with the 1st and 2nd overall pick, but we'll get into all of it. But thank God I am not alone for today's discussion. Regular contributor to the show. I still make the joke he might as well be my co-host. That's how often he comes on the show. The Mind Your Pucking Business host, Jeffrey Krentzman. Jeffrey, as always, it is an absolute pleasure. Crazy, crazy times in the NHL right now. How's everything with you and the family?
Very good. We are good, and it's good to speak with you a little bit different in the off season. You and I,
Yeah,
it's good to be here.
Yeah, no, it's good to speak with you as always. Definitely a bit different off-season talk as our team is not in the playoffs, unfortunately, but they have been pretty exciting to watch. I'm not going to lie to you. But that's not what we're talking about today. I know I promised I would continue the player report card series from my show, and we'll get into that in the next episode, so I'm sorry about that. We're going to be talking about the forwards part 1 next. But today is all about the NHL Draft Lottery, and look, Jeff, before we even get into the Rangers and whether or not this is a good thing for them drafting 5th, I don't even know what to say. Just, okay, so for those that didn't see, Toronto, the Maple Leafs, who had an 8.5% chance of getting the number 1 overall pick, got it. And San Jose, who picked 2 last year, is picking 2 again this year. Followed by the Vancouver Canucks, the Chicago Blackhawks, and the New York Rangers. Those are your top 5 in that order in the draft, unless some sort of trade happens. But I'm just I'm not even I'm not even as bothered by the fact that Toronto's picking first as much as I am bothered by the fact that San Jose, despite them finishing over 500, yes, I know they didn't make the playoffs, but they finished over 500. They had no business they went up from 9 to 2. I guess the rich get richer, but how in the world does this team keep getting rewarded? Can you explain to me? Because I don't like this process, how the NHL Draft Lottery is handled at all. I think it needs to be changed, and we'll get into that in a little bit with my thoughts. But just can you explain to me, like, how the hell did Toronto and San Jose get the top two?
This whole process they did, I have no idea what was going on. I'm watching numbers come out like I'm watching Mega Millions at 11 o'clock. I honestly have no idea what was going on. You basically are then watching the left side of the screen to see where your team percentage chance. I don't get it. I'm going to say this, and I may be in the minority here. Anyone who's complaining, I think, needs to take a step back. In 2019, the Rangers got the second pick. They didn't deserve it. In 2020, they made the playoffs. They jumped 14 slots and got Alexis Lafreniere. The Rangers have had an enormous amount of luck the last few years with the draft lotto. I know it's frustrating. It's frustrating because of the year they had. It's frustrating because of the 2 years they've had, probably, as well. I can even throw in last year. Yeah, look, I don't understand the process. I don't get it. I said to my kids, we all were watching in the other room, and I said, here's what's going to happen. I said, they're going to make me wait 29 minutes of the 30 minutes to tell me it's the worst case I could get, which is the fifth pick. And that's exactly what happened. So I'm not surprised. It's kind of what I expected it would be, but it's a very deep draft. Where you pick at number 5 this year, there's going to be talent there when it is your turn to pick. There is no guarantee that being in the 3rd spot is better than the 5th spot, and there's no guarantee that being in the 2nd or 1st spot is better than the 5th spot. We've seen years where that doesn't happen. I mean, look at Kako in the 2nd spot in 2019. What happened with him? So, I don't want to pretend like I know how Toronto and San Jose did it. I know it's a lotto, but I'm not. My wife is a math teacher. I don't do anything with numbers in my life, so I can't speak to that. But just. It is what it is. We move on.
I mean, I tend to agree with you, but I just don't understand how. Look, again, the fact that Toronto was going to possibly get Gavin McKenna, again, we don't know. I mean, for all we know, something drastic could happen, and the Sharks could get Gavin McKenna. I have no idea what's going to happen in the draft this year. But odds are McKenna is going to go to Toronto. And I kept hearing all the talk of, oh, well, Toronto should just blow it up right now. Trade Matthews, trade Nylander, trade this, build around McKenna. Like, what good is that going to do you? Like, I get it. McKenna is a good piece to build around. But why wouldn't you keep Austin Matthews around so he can mentor him a little bit? Why wouldn't you keep William Nylander? I understand wanting to do a rebuild based on the season they had, but why don't you just do what Chris Drury said and do a retool? Maybe get a few pieces to help out McKenna. Like, would you maybe want to do that instead? It makes no sense what they're saying.
Well, I think so PK Subban said on the broadcast after Toronto won the draft lotto that they are so far away from being competitive. So I don't know. I mean, I don't want to speak to being Matt Sundin or the guy that they hired whose last name I can't pronounce, who got vilified in the press conference yesterday. I don't want to speak for what I don't know their situation up there enough. But if you're far away from winning, and Gavin McKenna is not going to come into the league next year and be an impact player. Macklin Celebrini didn't do that. What players? Connor Bedard certainly didn't do that. He's in year 4, right? They haven't made the playoffs really. So they've got time with McKenna. I don't know what they do. I know, as you said, Austin Matthews has been rumored to be going different places. I would actually be of the mindset I don't really want to see him on Broadway if he does go anywhere.
I don't blame you.
But yeah, we'll see. I mean, we'll see what they do. They're not even if they went into a retool and not a rebuild, that team even when they were at the best they were for years, couldn't get out of the second round. So they're not even close. And Gavin McKenna's not going to really be an impact player next year. I'd be shocked if he was. So they're still pretty far away up there.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably going to take Toronto at least 2 or 3 years, in my opinion, to try and get out of this hole they're in. I don't expect them to do much next season at all. That's just me. But look, at the end of the day, you are right. It is what it is. We move on from it. I was just really taken aback that those two teams, out of everybody else, got the number 1 and number 2 overall pick, respectively. But you are right. We live and we learn. We move on from that. We now move on to the Rangers' point of things, where I've been seeing a bunch of comments saying, oh, the tank job didn't work. This is the worst case scenario. And I'm here to say, I might be of the minority here, Jeff. And, you can obviously disagree with me if you want to. That's okay. But I'm probably the only one that doesn't have an issue with them getting 5. And let me explain my reasoning. You mentioned in 2020 that the Rangers ended up getting the number 1 overall pick. And at that time, and by the way, it's hard to believe that was 6 years ago. I mean, geez, where's time going? But at that time, I did not like them getting the number 1 overall pick because my argument at the time was that, oh, you need defensive players. And the defense, for the most part, has gotten a teeny bit better. There's still improvements, but has gotten a teeny bit better. But everybody else was thrilled, and they all thought that Alexis Lafreniere was going to be the next big thing, the next Sidney Crosby, the next this, the next that. Well, guess what? We're still waiting on that. Now, granted, he finally showed some flashes at the end of this year, but guess what? We're still waiting for a full season of that. The only good season that we have gotten from Alexis Lafreniere thus far was 2022-2023. That's it. We're still waiting. How do we know for sure that if they had gotten the number 1 overall pick this year, that Gavin McKenna was going to come in here and be the next savior? We don't know that. People thought Alexis Lafreniere was going to be a savior. Again, we're still waiting. Look, I'm not saying that Gavin McKenna is not going to be a great player. He has potential to be a fantastic NHL player. But he needs time and the right system. I wouldn't play him right away. If the Rangers had gotten Gavin McKenna, I really, really would have hoped and prayed to God that somehow, some way, Tanner Glass, who got promoted to player development, and I'm not even going to mention the guy who got fired. I can't even pronounce his name. I would have prayed that Tanner Glass would have at least done something right to get this kid mentally prepared. But we don't know for sure that McKenna would have come in here and become the next savior, because we're still waiting on Lafreniere. So I don't trust the number 1 overall pick. So based on that logic, in my personal opinion, I do not mind the fact that the Rangers are drafting 5th, because if for some reason you don't see what you like, you could trade that pick away for somebody who is a free agent. What do you think about that, Jeff?
Well, I'll disagree with you. Well, I'm going to agree with you, and I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to agree with you that am I going to lose sleep tonight? They're picking 5th. No, I'd rather pick 3rd than 5th. I mean, does it mean again that the 3rd pick is going to be better than the 5th? No, but I'd rather have more options on the menu. I mean, I'd rather have that. But okay, you're right. I mean, look, Lafreniere is a great example in 2020. Generational person, played in the Canadian League, better stats than Sidney Crosby at the time, has come in the league and done nothing. I should say he's done nothing, but he hasn't lived up to that. Kako was rumored. Kako was, him and Hughes 1 and 2, and some people thought maybe Kako would go first. He goes second, and he's not even on the team. So yeah, these topics, you don't know. I mean, look, I don't want to pretend that I know Gavin McKenna's game that much. I don't. I've heard plenty about him that he's supposed to be great, and that's good. Good for him. The potential's there. But with any of these players, kind of like you're saying, you're not going to go out and bet your mortgage that they're going to be impact generational players, because that's what they are at this stage in their life. McKenna's still in college. So there's a lot of room to grow. There's also a lot of room to not live up to expectations too. I mean, it can go either way, and you don't know which one it's going to be. No one does. No one can predict the future. So I'll live with them picking fifth. I think it's a year where picking fifth isn't really awful because of the depth of the draft. But again, as you kind of alluded to as well, Jimmy, they still have to make the right pick. Whether you're picking first, second, third, fourth, or fifth, or even 20th, you still have to make the right pick there when you are on the clock. And that remains to be seen.
Yeah, no, it does. You're right. But like I said before, if for some unknown reason they see somebody that they don't like, they could trade the pick. But the question is, who are you trading that pick with? Could you possibly trade up to possibly the third overall pick? We don't know. Could you possibly trade that pick away for a guy like Jason Robertson or another veteran out in the market? We don't know. There are a million scenarios that could be in play for the Rangers if they decide, hey, we don't like who's there at 5. We're just going to trade the pick away. Could you see a scenario like that? Because I possibly could. Do I think it's going to happen ultimately? I do not.
I could see a scenario. I would not do that. I would hold the pick. I mean, look.
Thank you.
If someone calls Chris Drury with an offer, you listen, right? Of course, you're not going to hang up the phone and say, you know what, I'm not listening to offers. We're not trading the pick. Maybe you do that if you had the first pick. You don't do that at pick 5.
Right.
You'll listen to offers. It wouldn't be my ambition or my goal to move the pick. Right now, I would be saying here on May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. So I would be saying to myself, my plan is when we get to that last weekend in Buffalo with the draft, my plan is I'm picking at number 5. If someone wants to call and give me an offer to change my mind, okay, I'll listen. I got no problems with that. But my goal right now is to make that pick.
I agree 100%. And I know this draft is very heavy on defense. There's no like legitimate like number 1 center in this draft. So with that being said, if the Rangers do hang on to this pick, which I expect them they will, who could you see them taking at 5?
So I'm not an expert I'm not an expert in anything, right? The whole thing is a facade, even the Rangers. But
neither am I.
I'm really not an expert here. But here's what I know. I've been hearing 5 names for months. Okay. It is obviously McKenna's not going to be there. The guy Stenberg is not going to be there. He's probably 2, right? So he's gone. So now you have I think his name is Reed, the defenseman Reed, right? Chase Reed, maybe?
Yes.
You have Manny Malholtra's kid, and there is the guy. Why am I blanking on his name?
I thought it was the kid from Prince George, right? The Prince George Wales or something like that.
Hold on. I just had it up. So you're going to get probably what is left of Malhotra, Reed, and Verhall, the kid from North Dakota.
That's him.
Yeah. To me, now again, I'm not an expert in this, and I haven't done a lot of research in it either. So my thought would be, McKenna and Stenberg go 1 and 2, and then 3, 4, and 5 in any sort of derivative and sequence is Malhotra, Reed, and Verhoff. You have the one that is left of the 3. That would be right now my guess. The Prince George's kid Carroll's, who you're talking about, Carson Carroll's.
Yes.
It probably could be in that discussion too. Look, they're not in a position where you're drafting 11th. You know that one of these, if you're telling me that at 5th, you're going to get a player that in some mock drafts are 3 or 4 because it's all interchangeable. I can live with that, right? I'm not going. Again, would I rather McKenna? Would I rather Stenberg? Yeah, but they're going to get somebody that's good. Now, Malhotra, I will say this, and you're young, Jimmy, so you don't remember the days when his dad played here. I don't even know if you were born when Manny Malhotra played here.
I don't think I was, no.
Yeah, Manny Malhotra was did not have a good tenure on Broadway at all compared to what his expectations were and what he was. His son does not deserve to be not given a chance because of what his father did. That's not fair. They're two completely different players, of course. But I just, in my head, when I hear that last name, I always think about when Manny Malhotra was a Ranger when I was in my early 20s, and it just did not work out positively.
Oh boy.
But if he's there at 5 and some people have him at 3 and he's the best available, then that's what Chris Drury's got to do.
I mean, listen, man, I don't even. It's amazing to me how Chris Drury is even still here, if I'm being honest with you. I mean, although I will admit, maybe he was kind of onto something with the whole retool thing, because you saw what happened with these kids at the end of the season. They brought life into this team. Granted, it was too little too late, but maybe he was kind of onto something. Now, he still has a lot to prove, and it starts in the draft, but I'm telling you right now, Jeff, I think this is Chris Drury. I still want him fired. Don't get me wrong. I still want him out. But I really think that now that he's still here, this might be his absolute last chance to do something right. And it starts with the draft.
Yeah, look, I mean, so do you want to do glass half full, glass half empty on Drury? Do you want to do glass half full? Because I could tell you that he made the Eastern Conference Finals in 2 of his first 3 years. That's very impressive. I mean, there's literally no disputing that. But
True.
I could also do glass half empty, and we could look at the last 2 years. So I'll let you pick what drink you want to drink your what cup you want to drink your glass out of.
Well, since you already mentioned the Eastern Conference Finals, I go the other way.
Yeah. So, but I'll say this. I think where you are definitely right is this is a critical year for him because James Dolan loves him, and there's something about him that he really likes. And James Dolan, he owns the team. He's entitled to do that. James Dolan is not going to like a continuous pattern of missing the playoffs and missing revenue that he's missing from the Garden. And he's seeing it right now with the Knicks. It's the buzz of the town. You can't get tickets, yada, yada, yada. He knows he's losing out on the Rangers. At some point, Chris Drury is going to be in a position where his time is going to run out. This is a critical year for him. He's got to get this draft pick right. Now, remember, you may not know a year from now if he got the draft pick right, because that pick may not play next year, right? It could be in Hartford.
Right,
it could still be in college. So you're not going to have the deciding. You're not going to know a year from now. Well, remember last year on Cinco de Mayo when we got the 5th pick, Drury made a terrible pick or he made a great pick. You're probably not even going to know in a year. But it is a critical offseason for Drury because now you have some of these players at the end of the year that were playing well. Gabe Perreault, some of these Sikora, some of these other young players. Fox ended up having a quiet, good year. Mika had a very good year on a terrible team. So Lafreniere, another one that kind of came alive in the last 6 weeks. So it is a very critical offseason, but it is also for Chris Drury a very critical next season for him for how long he's going to be employed here.
100% agree. So with all that being said, Jeff, who will the Rangers draft at number 5 this year?
To me right now, I'm saying they're going to, you have Malhotra, Reed, Verhoff, and Carols, right?
Yes.
I've seen some places where Malhotra goes 3 to Vancouver, which is funny because his father played in Vancouver, and his father, I think, actually coached there as an assistant.
I think he did, yeah.
He did. So 2 of those choices are going to be gone. Then you're looking at 2 of them being left. I'm going to guess that they're both going to be the defensemen, Verhoff and Carols, that are left. As for which one I would pick between the 2, to be completely fair to your listeners, I haven't done enough research. We have plenty of time to do that between now and then, but we'll see. I would think it's one of those 4.
That's fair. I respect you for that, Jeff. But I think Verhoff would be a great fit, especially if Fox goes down. He can be paired alongside Gavrikov. I think that would be a great defensive pairing. That's just my personal opinion, though. But before we wrap up the show, I'm mad at myself that I didn't bring this up at the beginning of the show, but I would be remiss if we didn't bring up the passing of the late, great John Sterling, a guy who really, I know he's synonymous with the Yankees, but people tend to forget that he used to work for the New York Islanders at the early start of his career. So for all Islander fans out there, my condolences are definitely with you. But I also am a diehard Yankee fan. I have been all my life, and John Sterling was the voice for me. Every time I turn on the radio, him and Susan, him and Michael Kay, John Sterling was that guy, and he was one of one. There will never be another John Sterling. I think. Well, I think one of my everybody keeps bringing up the fact that the favorite moment was when he got hit by the foul ball and he finished the game anyway. I mean, yes, that was gold, and the fact that he was able to finish that game is a miracle, which was fantastic. But I think my favorite John Sterling moment was God, there's so many of them. I would have to go back to this is probably before even I was either an infant or I wasn't even born yet. But the Jim Leyritz 2-run homer back in like 95, where the Yankees ended up winning that game in 15 innings. I forget who it was against, but the Jim Leyritz 2-run homer, just hearing him, it just gives you goosebumps, man. When I heard the news the other day, I was just in complete shock. I knew he had health problems for a while. He had a couple of heart attacks, but ultimately he succumbed to heart failure at the age of 87. So I just want to say my sincere condolences to John Sterling, his family, the entire Yankees organization, the Yes Network family over there. And Jeff, if you have any words about John Sterling, and
Yeah, I could tell you a lot. Well, I would have a lot to say, but I'll try and keep it short. So I'm also a Yankee fan, and again, I'm going to date myself, but in the heyday of Yankee baseball, the late 90s all the way to 2009. I was actually there when they won the World Series in 2009. I was there that night. I was there, the famous walk-off.
Wow.
I was also there in 2003, the Boone walk-off Game 7 home run. I love John Sterling. I mean, I would listen to his calls all the time. One of my best friends and we still talk about John Sterling all the time. Look, he was the soundtrack of Yankee baseball forever, for my generation, for your generation, because you're younger than me. It is a loss. I mean, I can't tell you how many times my wife and I, even before we had kids, would be driving somewhere on a Saturday afternoon. We would always have, they used to be on 880. They're now on 660, but we would always have 880 on. And I mean, John Sterling, I mean, just a legend. I'm one of his huge fans. And yeah, to hear it yesterday was pretty sad. He's, if you set out to have a broadcasting career, I don't want to compare him to Sam Rosen or one or the other. That's not fair. But if you, and Kenny Albert's a little different, right? Because Kenny's the voice of the Rangers, but he does a million other sports. John Sterling also did about 5,000 something consecutive Yankee games and never missed a game. Yep. And when you think about that, there's 162 games. Baseball is a different sport than hockey, which you and I cover, in that he could be in Texas doing the Texas Rangers Yankee game tonight. They'd fly back, land at 3:30 in the morning, and then they'll open up a set with Cleveland the next day, and he's there. He never missed a game. And even as he got older, I was always impressed at that age. He's doing the late night flights. He's getting into the hotels. And he was always prepared. And I'm sure a lot of that had to do with the production staff that they have there. But he just always knew what he was talking about. So yeah. I'm glad that you mentioned it, because he deserves a lot of praise that's out there.
Yeah, no, he absolutely does. And again, our sincere condolences go out to his family, his loved ones, the Yankees organization, obviously Susan Waldman, Michael Kay, and everybody else involved over there. Rest in peace to the late great John Sterling. But Jeff, this was such a blast as always, my friend. Before we sign up for the night, let people know once again how they can find your show and where they can find you on social media.
Sure. You can find us at any time at Mind Your Puckin' Business. We try to go in, we're kind of in like our summer mode now, where like I don't like to go to the studio every week. Work is crazy. There's not a lot to cover. We'll get back to it in the next few weeks, obviously now knowing where the Rangers are going to pick. And then we got to get ready for July 1st, which is free agency, which is really only 7.5 weeks away. So things always in the off season, even though it's a different pace, it still moves pretty briskly. Yeah. So we'll get back into it. You can find us at Mind Your Puckin' Business. But thank you as always, Jimmy, for being here. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Hey, absolutely, Jeff. The pleasure is all mine. As always, go subscribe to Mind Your Pucking Business and follow them on Instagram as well. That is going to do it for us. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you like what you saw or heard, hit that like button and subscribe and hit that bell so you're notified of all episodes that air. And subscribe on Apple, Spotify, YouTube Music, wherever you listen to your podcasts. And be sure to rate us 5 stars. It would mean the world to us. We want to hear from you, though. What do you think of the Rangers drafting 5th overall? Do you like, love, or hate it? And let us know your thoughts on the Toronto-San Jose situation as well. Let us know in the comments down below on YouTube and on all social media, X and Instagram, at BlueSeats94, and follow us there as well, or send us fan mail from the BlueSeats at gmail.com. For Jeffrey Krentzman, I'm Jimmy Fanizzi. This is From the Blue Seats, a New York Rangers podcast. Go Blue Shirts, and rest in peace, John Sterling. Have a good night, and we'll catch you next time. Peace!